Linux Out Loud is firing up our mics, connecting those headphones as we search the community.
Whoa. Hold on here.
What?
You don't have your regular Linux Out Loud crew this week.
No, it's a special show.
We specialize in special.
That we do.
So this week on Linux Out Loud, Wendy is going to talk to some of her robotics kids about
how they're enjoying FLL and their innovation project.
So are you going to cover what's on the innovation project and what all they do in a little more depth?
That is the plan. We are dealing with children, so we'll see how much they actually say and what I can get out of them, but we'll see.
So let's get into episode 49.5 and see what robotics has done for them. This episode of Linux Out Loud is brought to you by Linode and Bitwarden.
Hopefully we'll have something a whole lot of fun for you today. I have with me my two kids that are on our FLL Challenge Robotics teams. Last time we got to chat, we were preparing for state, and you haven't got to hear anything since. Well, maybe you have if you follow me on Mastodon. And I am so excited to say that they took the Champions Award at the Southern Idaho qualifier event. It was absolutely awesome. I'm incredibly proud of them. And so they're going to get to share with us a little bit of their involvement with the program and what they're learning about it. One of the coolest things about this championship award is they get to move on to other championships, and they have a head-to-head with the team who wins in North Idaho on February 18th. And after that, it will decide whether they get to compete in Worlds in Texas in April, or if they're headed to California for a Western Invitational in May. Sis, this is your first year as part of FLL. What has been your favorite part about it so far?
My favorite part so far has been the coding and learning how Python works. I think my second favorite thing is the innovation project and learning. Like our thing this year was power, and we had to do research to figure out what our innovation was and what we thought was the best thing to help power and save power. And I think that was my second favorite thing, was getting to research and go on field trips and figure out what everything was about. And
so at first you said your number one favorite thing is coding, which I absolutely love that part of it too. I actually helped put out a video for the rest of the team today as they're trying to decide whether they're going to stick with Lego Python or go with Pybricks Python. Why was coding one of your favorite parts?
I liked learning how the code works and seeing how it would affect the robot and learning the functions.
When your team decides to vote on Lego Python or Pybricks Python, which way are you currently leaning right now?
I'm currently leaning toward Pybricks Python. I think it would be so much better to be able to lift our forklift and drive or turn at the same time. It definitely save time for us. And where we still get to switch between runs, so we could do either a full run with everything or do an individual run, which would help. So if we mess up during our full run, we can just rerun a part of it and not have to just stop our robot.
Awesome. Now, you're not the only one on this team in the house. Bubba, I would love to hear what your favorite part of the experience is. And this is your second year, so you got to do this last year where we were using Scratch code. We had a largely different team. There are some kids back from last year. But what's your favorite part of FLL in general, and maybe what's your favorite part of this year?
I think my favorite part is going to meet all the different people that work at all these different places.
So your favorite part is the research aspect and getting to visit with some of the other professionals in the fields?
Yeah.
What about that makes it your favorite?
I like to go see what they're doing and how they do it and see how we can maybe improve on it.
So your innovation project this year, do you want to give us an overview, bud?
Our innovation project was about hydropower plants and how the falls have to run all summer long, whether viewers are watching or not.
And what does your innovation project do?
We have a button. When it's pushed, it can activate the falls.
That's really cool. So why is this project needed? Why did you guys choose this project over some of the other ideas that you worked on?
Because the power is already there, and if we just put the button in, it will generate 2,000. I think it was 2,000.
Yes, it will power an additional 2,000 homes just at the Twin Falls power plant. Around our 3 power plants we've been doing all the math for, be able to power at least 6,000 more homes.
And that's awesome. Is it really going to cost anything in order to put in this button that you guys are talking about?
No, not really.
Overall, we learned from these engineers at the power plant that they already have the code written in order to make this button work. That's part of the reason why you came up with the idea, right? Is because they already had a way in order to divert the water over the falls. They have to do it anyway. It's part of the regulation. So now it's installing the button and running the wires however they decide to do that. Whether they bury them, they take them through the air, any of that stuff. The main part, the heavy lifting, is already done, right?
Yeah. So what I think will be better is, yes, it will generate more power, but people can watch it when they want. Idaho Power will make more power, and the power will be cheaper.
That is absolutely fantastic. We will have more information on their website, buildingbeast.org, in order for you to learn more about their innovation project. It really is quite interesting. What have you guys learned when it's come to the building process of the robot? I know some of you have worked in building the chassis of the robot. Some of you have worked on the attachments of the robot. How do you think that has shaped your season and how you feel about building engineering in general?
I've worked on both of them. The robot has to be compact but light enough that it can go fast enough but still be consistent. And if it's not rigid enough, like a robot now, the forklift would lean to the side or...
Be front heavy?
Yeah, be front heavy.
One of the biggest challenges we faced during building that I think is when our energy cell bucket and collector was too heavy for the medium motor, when we had to switch it out and put in a big motor, which we ended up doing anyway, but we didn't want to have to rewrite all the code to make it work.
Yeah, because we started out with that medium-sized motor on it. We ordered a larger motor, and after it came in, we had a talk as a team. And if we went ahead, and what you guys already did, you installed the motor, but if you use that attachment again, which is quite large, I think I got a picture that I can go ahead and drop in the show notes for everybody to see, and some pictures of your super awesome robots, so they get to see those too. But the biggest thing was we only had a month between regionals and state, and if you guys switch things up and use that original attachment motor, then we were going to have to completely write your code from scratch. I have to say, you guys have done an amazing job with Python this year. You've learned so much with it, and you guys knew what kind of work it was going to be to completely rewrite your code again. When I brought that up to the team, what were your thoughts, sis?
I thought putting the energy cell bucket and collector back on would make it really hard to maneuver all the missions on the field because it'd be so long. So my additional thoughts were we stick with the robot we have now. It's consistent, it's working, and if we rewrite the entire code, we're going to have to figure out where everything has to go, we're going to have to figure out where we have to reset the robot every time, and I think it'd be a lot of work before state, and we'd have to meet up at least 3 days a week, and maybe even 4.
Yeah, we were already putting in a lot of hours on this. Now, you do actually get to handle the robot on the table. What is that like to be one of the handlers of the robot? One of the people who is starting it off and sending it out, letting it run on its missions?
It's kind of a little stressful to make sure you got it lined up at first, but you can see it at home. So before it leaves your home area, you can stop it and restart it and not lose a precision token. It does take up time, but once you remember and practice a whole bunch, it gets easier and easier, and it just feels like something you just normally do all the time. And honestly, with the robot, that's my favorite part, is getting to run the robot and see what it scores and how it works. Except for the hardest part this week was when everyone kept walking all over the board and we had to rewrite some of our code and perfect it.
Yeah, we did run into an issue where our board is kind of in this community type area, and it did get used by someone else and they stepped on it, which is a bummer and seems to have some negative effects on how level the board is. You commented earlier about starting the robot in the same place. Bubba, why is it so important that you are starting the robot from a consistent place every single time?
Then it is consistently running the missions every single time.
How is that, though? Is your robot able to adapt to where it's placed on the board, or is it only doing exactly what you tell it to do?
It's only doing exactly what we tell it to do.
Yeah, absolutely. How does the team go about deciding which missions you're tackling?
We all take a piece of paper that has our map printed on it. We pick out the missions we think is best for our robot. We draw it out on the piece of paper. We all take it back the next week. For the next time we meet up, we all vote, decide which mission's better, or which run idea is better, and whichever one got the most votes, we'd start writing code for those missions.
Now, I am incredibly excited about these different championship events that we get to go through, one of the two. If you get to choose which one we go to, is it Houston, Texas, or Long Beach, California on your wish list?
I'd rather go to Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas.
And what is in Houston that you are so excited to go see? I mean, of course it's Worlds. So not only will it be FLL Challenge teams, there'll be FTC teams, also be FRC. We'll get to see more than just FLL. And that's probably one of the most exciting things about it. Plus, we have some other educational stuff potentially planned. Are you excited about some of that?
Yeah.
What part of that are you most excited about?
I'm most excited about going to the NASA Space Center and getting to tour an old oil rig.
That would be super awesome. What about you, bud?
I think it would be fun to go to the NASA Space Center too.
Yeah, I think that overall would be really, really exciting. Other than continuing to work on your speeches, continuing to gather data, working on your robot code, any changes like that, what is the next step that we need to do in order to make it to either place, whether it's Houston, Texas, or Long Beach, California?
We need to code our robot to score more points so we can win against the other team that won state.
And practice a lot.
And we also need to do a fundraiser so we can get money to buy plane tickets to go on the plane and to pay for all of our food and to pay for everything we need to go on the plane.
Yeah, this is actually a really, really big trip for you guys. And looking at the budget that my co-mentor sent originally had me pretty much in a heart attack mode in what we needed in order to make this trip happen. And I know we're going to be reaching out to multiple different avenues. I'm extremely excited to say that Tux Digital is going to be one of the sponsors for the 53036 Building Beasts on their way to one of these championship awards. We also have a GoFundMe right now in order to get this team started. That GoFundMe is less than half of what we need to get this team either to Texas or Long Beach, California. These kids have worked so incredibly hard and have really earned this championship spot. I was in tears when I left the judges' room because they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. They were spot on with their transitions on their presentation. They'd done an amazing job during the questioning section of it. Everyone had really solid answers for the judges, and you could tell that they were working together as a team, and we want to make sure that every single member of the team can participate in this upcoming event. Is there anything else you'd like to tell all of the fantastic Linux Out Loud people?
No.
Not really.
That's it? That's all you want to say to them? One last thing before you go. Remember, we're doing a live show on the 17th of February? Make sure you're checking the show notes on the discourse forum for the proper date and time in your location. Can't wait to see you there. Well, I guess that means it's your turn to toss in your 2 cents on today's topic. Hit the discourse forum and drop us a line under this video or contact us by visiting tuxdigital.com/contact. If you'd like to hang out with us on our preferred social media, see the links in the bottom of the show description. Find other great shows like Hardware Addicts, GameSphere, Linux Saloon, and more at tuxdigital.com. Show your love for your favorite podcasts and shows by visiting the Tux Digital Merch Store. Grab yourself some awesome swag like the Gamer-centric I Paused My Game to Be Here shirt, or join Team Wendy with some Sinister Wendy swag. And I'm pretty sure my kids would agree with that. As always, we thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week with another awesome episode of Linux Out Loud. Until then, keep the banter friendly, the conversation somewhat on topic, and have fun doing it.